Matovu joins me on this episode to talk about Adana, a stablecoin platform that is launching on Cardano. It's actually going to be launched on several centralized exchanges as well. And this is the first native token that's being launched on centralized exchanges. It includes Gate.io, Bitmart, and MEXC, not sure about how to pronounce that one, but you'll be able to buy the Adana token on these exchanges. Now, if you enjoy this content, please give us that thumbs up, click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and hear more from us soon. But let's get into this interview.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast.
So Ryan, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Great to be here. Okay,
so let's start from the very beginning and get a really good overview of what Adana is. I've heard terms and other projects that it's been compared to everything from Terra and Luna to MakerDAO and CurveFi. But what exactly is Adana and how does it fit into the ecosystem of the DeFi space?
Yeah. A lot of those comparisons are interesting. If we look at Luna, which is its own stablecoin ecosystem on blockchain, and we have MakerDAO, on Ethereum, which has kind of formed its space. I guess the easy parallels we can make of what we're putting together is we're building MakerDAO plus Curve on Cardano. And that is both a on-chain asset-backed stablecoin and a decentralized exchange for swapping between stablecoins and stable assets. So really, in a nutshell, Ardana is a decentralized stablecoin ecosystem for Cardano. We'll be providing both a stablecoin, and that works differently to the likes of USDT and USDC, which are centralized stablecoins. They actually hold US dollars, in a bank account. We don't operate like that. We have smart contracts, which are permissionless. No one has control over them. And they act as vaults for collateral, the collateral being ADA or any kind of Cardano native token. So what a user can do is take their ADA, deposit those into a smart contract vault on the Ardana platform, and actually mint a stable coin against that, our stable coin, DUSD. And it's that DUSD that maintains the same value. It's always worth $1, and that can be traded. You can use it to buy other coins. You can even take it onto our exchange and provide liquidity. But it functions exactly like any other stable coin that users are used to. But the difference is that it's backed by ADA itself in a decentralized way, on-chain Cardano native assets. So that's the stable coin. And then the decentralized exchange is different to the general purpose exchanges where you'll see different governance tokens being traded. Similar to the likes of Uniswap and SushiSwap. And then on our Cardano, we have the alternatives building here, SundaySwap, MinSwap, Maladex, many of those other projects as well. We're actually targeting a specific use case, and that is what we would call a stable swap exchange. So this exchange makes it highly capital efficient to swap between stable coins and stable assets. Effectively, any groups of assets where they are maintaining the same price against each other. So if you want to go from one stable coin to another, which is an important use case in DeFi, you would use our exchange and you have access to much higher capital efficiency. You wouldn't lose as much on slippage. We're actually able to achieve a 50 to 100x increase in capital efficiency through the particular pricing algorithm that we've built into our decentralized exchange. So in a nutshell, you could look at Ardana as the stablecoin center of Cardano, both decentralized stablecoin and the decentralized exchange for stablecoins, a hub for other stablecoins beyond just ours to trade back and forth in an efficient way. And then on top of that, as an additional layer, our stablecoin vaults will actually be able to mint different currency stablecoins. So it won't just be the US dollar. You'll be able to mint the pound, the euro, the yen, effectively any currency in demand. And then the decentralized exchange allows you to go back and forth between those different currency stablecoins. And then as we integrate fiat on-ramps and off-ramps onto the platform, so you can go into real dollars or kind of real pounds, real currency into stable coins. What that will enable is a fully permissionless, decentralized foreign exchange system where you can go from one currency to another, all within a second, effectively, for much cheaper rates than you would see in the traditional space. So we're both serving the purpose within DeFi of a stable coin and a decentralized exchange for stable coins, but also branching out, into traditional finance or real fi, as we like to call it here in Cardano, providing foreign exchange for anyone, anywhere to use any time of the day. So, that's what we're putting together.
It's absolutely massive. It's combining all the different aspects of DeFi that we need, especially in the Cardano ecosystem, and provide that all in one service or one platform, which is absolutely amazing. So how does the stablecoin that you guys have, the DUSD, compared to something like ADAOZ or JED that's coming out on Cardano itself? How does that fit in the ecosystem, and where does it fit in the spectrum there?
Yeah. So there's lots of, I think if you look at the entire space, there's different spectrums. You see one from centralized to decentralized, and I think our stablecoin, it fits, right on the decentralized side of that spectrum. But there is also another spectrum within stablecoins, going from the algorithmic type to the asset-backed type. So the asset-backed type is where you actually have assets backing the stablecoin. So when you use that stablecoin, you know that there's an equivalent or greater amount of assets held somewhere, whether in a centralized tether type stablecoin where it's in bank accounts, or in our kind of stablecoin where it's in decentralized smart contract vaults with ADA. That's the assets backed end of that spectrum. The other side would be the algorithmic type, which some of them do have assets, although they would have a lot less assets backing the stable coin, and they'd actually have mechanisms, algorithms to effectively be able to maintain the peg, the price of the US dollar, for example, through supply and demand, coming in, kind of within the wider ecosystem, and then through that stablecoin platform itself. So we're closer to the asset-backed end of the spectrum, whereas the likes of ADUSD and DJED as well are closer to the algorithmic side of stablecoins. So very different models, which we are building an on-chain asset-backed stablecoin, as we see an importance in kind of users being able to have the assurance that there's always more collateral in the vaults than there are stable coins in circulation. So it's secure in that that this stable coin is backed at all times, and smart contracts, you can check them. Anyone can take a look at the smart contracts and see. So it's as transparent as you can get. So that's the model that we've gone with, and that doesn't take away from the algorithmic type stablecoins. We'd say they're more experimental in that we're still experimenting with different models, and we're excited reading the DJED paper, and we look forward to seeing how that will progress. But it will take time to see the success of those models. And it also plays into why we've built this ecosystem in this way, because we see DeFi not being kind of taken over by one single stablecoin. Usually what happens is you'll have various different stablecoins with different use cases. And that's why we have a decentralized exchange for stablecoins, where the other stablecoins in the ecosystem can actually benefit and use our platform to be able to exchange value between each other in the most efficient way. I guess that would be some of the key differences between our stablecoin and the more algorithmic types. No, we kind of don't like to look at other stablecoins as competition. They will have their different use cases. I think a key use case of ours is that it almost serves as a lending protocol in a way, at the same time, in that you can take a stablecoin loan out against your ADA itself. So that's the use case we have. Other stablecoins will have their use cases, and will be interesting to see how DGED progresses. And then, will also be interesting to see how, we'll see all the different stablecoins being able to go back and forth in terms of value and swaps in the most efficient way through our decentralized exchange.
Very, very cool indeed. So I'm wondering, how much collateral would you need to actually mint a DUSD? Is it, you mentioned highly collateralized. Does that mean we have to put in more ADA assets, for an example, to mint one USD? So twice as much value, 3 times as much value. How much collateral do we have to put in?
Yeah. So you would have to put in more collateral to mint DUSD. So, for example, you'd be able to deposit $100 worth of ADA and then be able to mint $50 worth of DUSD or 50 DUSD. So it will always be less DUSD than the amount of collateral you'll have. And it will be kind of initially roughly twice, but that will change as we go forward and we see the market stabilize, where you'll be able to mint more DUSD in comparison to the collateral you have. And the key reason for that is that these are crypto assets. It's a young space. The markets are volatile. So if it was a one-to-one backing of an equal amount of ADA to DUSD, when the price of ADA fluctuates, let's say it dips very suddenly, you'd now be in a situation where you have less collateral than DUSD in circulation, and that wouldn't be good for the protocol. So this over collateralization, which is having more collateral than DUSD, acts as a buffer for price fluctuations for the Cardano native assets, the crypto assets that we will have. And it gives another assurance in being able to maintain the peg. So it's always priced against the US dollar. And it's just another kind of layer of security to weather the storm of those fluctuations. So, yeah.
Okay. So what happens to my ADA once it goes into the smart contract? Where does that go? It gets locked into the smart contract. Is it staked or anything? And how do I get it back eventually?
Yeah. So this touches on an interesting thing that we've built into our protocol in the smart contract vaults. So let's, I guess we can go through the process. So you have your ADA in your wallet, whether it's Yoroi or Nami or Daedalus. So you have that ADA. You would look for a stake pool. There's many out there. We'd recommend Asper. We have our own stake pool alliance, the Ardana stake pool alliance. These are mission-driven stake pools which have their calls, and we support them. So you would stake your ADA with one of those stake pools, and then you'd be receiving your rewards. And anyone in Cardano has that understanding of you're able to stake your ADA, hold it in your wallet, and still receive stake and rewards. So how we've built our smart contract platforms and what we felt was important is actually being able to interact with our ecosystem without having to unstake or without having to have any interruptions to your staking rewards. So you have your ADA in your wallet, and the staking rewards are accumulating and distributed every epoch. So you take your ADA, you deposit it into our platform, into the smart contract vaults where they are locked. So they may have left your wallet into the smart contract vaults. They're permissionless, decentralized, so no one owns them. They're still in ownership of yourself. Only you can access them and take them out. But what happens is that you actually remain staked to your original stake pool. So even whilst your ADA is in the smart contract vault and not in your wallet, you're actually still accumulating your staking rewards from the stake pool that you would have been staking with before. So this is very interesting. If we bring in, the part of our platform where fees are taken on the stablecoin. So when you take out a DUSD loan, when you pay back that loan, you pay back a stability fee on top of that. And stability fees initially would be roughly 3 to 5% of the loan that you take out. Now, the staking rewards, as we know in Cardano, sit around that value of 3 to 5%. So you're accumulating 3 to 5% in staking rewards going into your wallet. There's a 3 to 5% stability fee. Effectively, your staking rewards are automatically paying off your stability fee. So this acts as, kind of call it a subsidized loan, but in practical terms, it's a free loan. The Cardano blockchain itself, the stake pools and the ability to do that enables you to accumulate ADA through your staking rewards, whilst kind of using our smart contracts vault, minting DUSD, and that ADA effectively pays back the DUSD stability fee that you would have had. So this is really interesting, to us, that we're actually able to leverage the underlying blockchain itself and how stake pools work and how they interact with smart contracts to enable people to still remain staked with their stake pool and engage in those communities, but then leverage our platform and be able to mint DUSD, and your staking rewards are paying off the stability fee, and then go use DUSD, in the wider ecosystem.
Very cool. Right. So our stake pool is one of the pools that are in the Stake Pool Alliance. So I didn't quite understand that, and that explanation was absolutely brilliant to realize how it actually worked. In my mind, in my head, I thought that a large delegate on our pool may go off and lock their ADA in a smart contract, which means the ADA would move away from the pool and then get locked in a smart contract, and then that ADA may be distributed elsewhere to be staked. But no, it's not. So that's absolutely brilliant. So it doesn't leave the stake pool. It's all part of the Stake Pool Alliance, which is really cool. Now, I'm trying to do the math in my head in regards to the return on ADA and the fees that are charged on the loan. So essentially, they're interest loans or interest-free loans because it's paying off itself. The amount of ADA that is received from staking, is that, in my head, is that higher than the fees that you're taking off on the loan? So would the amount of return be slightly higher possibly, so it would pay off more of that loan that's been taken out?
Potentially, yeah. I think it's definitely difficult to give a hard figure because the staking rewards themselves can fluctuate, and then the stability fee as well can fluctuate as well. So it really depends on which point of the cycle, the market cycle you're in and the market conditions. But roughly, you would have your staking rewards accumulating and being able to pay off your stability fee. And in some market conditions, that may actually be more than your stability fee. Yeah. And in others, it may be slightly less or exactly the same. It really fluctuates, but there is still benefit in that you're able to still accumulate those staking rewards and still remain engaged with your stake pool. And stake pools are very important, both the technical aspects and security and kind of maintaining the network, but actually the community as well. You can actually still be a part of that community and contribute by being staked to that stake pool, whilst still being able to interact, with the Ardana platform, and kind of reap the rewards and kind of gain the benefit of being able to invest in the wider ecosystem and take out leverage on your ADA.
Okay, so I've got two more questions around that. One, how is the stability fee determined? You said it fluctuates. What does it fluctuate against, and how is that percentage determined?
Yeah, so this actually comes into governance. So the Dana token itself acts as a governance token for the platform, and users, the community, the holders are actually able to vote on the various parameters of the platform itself. So the stability fee is one of those. It's a combination of the governance vote, kind of voting to increase that and decrease it or keep it the same, but then also the market conditions as well. Increasing and decreasing the stability fee can definitely affect the kind of readiness for people to take out a loan. If you increase the amount that people have to pay back, or decrease it, that has a kind of an effect on supply and demand within the protocol itself. So yeah, it will be a combination of kind of supply and demand and the market conditions, but then also governance tying into that in the community being able to vote to increase it and decrease it, depending on what they feel is necessary in that current market condition. So, yeah.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the Dana token there, and we haven't spoken about that yet. And that comes from the decentralized exchange that you have. Is that correct?
Actually, no. So the decentralized exchange won't have any governance tokens. It would only have, for example, different stable coins. And additionally, there may be other assets like Bitcoin, for example, a wrapped or synthetic form. And you'd be able to go back and forth between that, and even Ethereum in its wrapped forms as well. There would be a version 2 pool that we put out where you're actually able to go from stable coins to Bitcoin to ADA. So we'd actually also be providing the highly capital efficient way to go back and forth between ADA and the stable coins and Bitcoin as well within our platform. So those would be the range of tokens that would be on our decentralized exchange, because it is special purpose. The Dana token itself would be on other exchanges. So it would exist both on decentralized exchanges being traded and centralized exchanges as well. So many different avenues for people to be able to buy that token and have access to that token. And we are looking forward to that, in the coming weeks as we're moving very close to when we do launch the token. So, yeah.
Very interesting. I have heard rumors that there was possible news that the Dana token be listed on a centralized exchange as well as many decentralized exchange. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so that's true. We'll be on centralized exchanges as well, and various ones. We're actually very excited about that because many centralized exchanges, Cardano as a DeFi kind of ecosystem is still young. So we're seeing the first projects launching. They've been building for a while, and that's been exciting to see. But now we're seeing initial stake pool offerings and token sales, and communities coming to life and planning for when they launch their tokens. So we're really at the birth, and many of these centralized exchanges don't have any Cardano native tokens on there. They have ADA itself, which is great. You can buy ADA on almost any centralized exchange, the good ones. But in terms of other project tokens, Cardano native tokens, there isn't that many centralized exchanges which support them. So we've actually had a great time reaching out to these exchanges, kind of helping support them in integrating Cardano native token functionality. So
That's amazing. Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. It's I haven't seen any other centralized exchange bar one where ADAOZ Pro is listed at the moment that lists Cardano native tokens. So if you're reaching out to more of these centralized exchanges, can you mention any of their names?
I currently can't, but
Okay.
All I can say is it's we're going for the best exchanges that we can. really targeting, tier one exchanges. And yeah, it will be an exciting quarter and, early next quarter as well. So yeah, you'll see it trading on many exchanges that you are familiar with. That's as much as I can say without getting in trouble.
Okay, very good. All right, awesome. No, that's really good news to hear. I missed out on the first funding round that you had, the token sale. Then I missed out on the second one, and I also missed out on the Occam one. So it was a little hard to get in some of those. I think the queuing system and the time that I think one of the sales only took like 30 minutes, and everything was sold out. So it was very hard to get in some of these. And with the time differences here in Australia, that they were quite late in the evening as well. So it's, I can't wait until I can actually get my hands on some of these Dana tokens. So I'm really excited. But these fundraising rounds that you've had were highly successful, and you've recently also had a $10 million fundraising round, which brought in some really big names as well, which is really interesting. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So we were very lucky to get support from various players within the crypto space, both inside and outside of the Cardano ecosystem. So this is, we've had lots of questions about, Project Catalyst and why isn't Ardana, on Project Catalyst, and, where's their proposal? We actually made a choice to not go through Project Catalyst because we were lucky enough to have that interest and that private funding earlier on. So it didn't seem fair to raise money privately and go for Project Catalyst. So that's why we're not on there. So for the past few months, we've been building and reaching out, making connections. And one of our earliest investors was C Fund, which is IOHK's investment arm. And it was very exciting to have them on board. And the support that they've provided us has been amazing. Within Cardano, that we have access to their resources and their network. But we've also had interest from outside of Cardano. Many key players in the crypto VC space. So it's been, I think we've really enjoyed that in terms of effectively showing that there's actually interest beyond Cardano, kind of within our community. If you enter the Cardano community, you can see how excited we are about ADA and the various projects building. But it's also really exciting to see that there's interest outside and that people are looking in and seeing Cardano as a potential kind of leading platform. It's already a leading platform, but in terms of DeFi, they're looking forward to DeFi and they do want to get involved and they want to support projects like ours. So, we'll be working closely with them, getting them up to speed on Cardano, and also kind of, seeing how they can contribute within the wider ecosystem as well, and just enable more people from other ecosystems, whether it's, guys over coming in from Ethereum or the guys coming in from Elrond, who are working together, and all the different ecosystems, building bridges to enable them to be able to access Cardano in an easy way and kind of enjoy what's being built here. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, a lot of these bridges are quite exciting to hear the developments that you're doing. One with Elrond, like you mentioned, the ERC20 bridge eventually, and I'm pretty sure there'll be a lot more in the works. But some of these angel investors that came on board, such as David Post from Chainlink, Tiang Zhang from the Ren Protocol and Keeper DAO, and then Justin Sung from Tron. These are really big name investors from other ecosystems, completely different ecosystems that are really interested in Adana. So you must have really impressed them early on to get them on board, which is absolutely amazing. And having that kind of reach into, like you said, these other ecosystems is going to bring a lot of exposure to Cardano, especially if you're showcasing what is capable of the blockchain.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, when we were kind of, speaking to various different people, they knew about Cardano and they were interested in it, but they just needed, a project or kind of someone to, give them that pathway in. And, we've been happy to facilitate that. So it's not just going to be through Ardana that they get involved. They're learning about the various different projects in the space, and they will be contributing in various different ways. So it's been very exciting to see people who've had who've built amazing things in other ecosystems coming into the Cardano ecosystem and bringing their experience and their expertise in. And we're looking forward to that. So yeah.
Yeah, this Cardano ecosystem is just going to explode. I'm really looking forward to it. I think we're all in it at the right time, that's for sure. So in terms of development, where are things at? I heard that you started development early this year, and you're probably up to you must be well past audit stage and eager to launch. How's the whole development phase looking for you?
Yeah, it's going really well. We started development in January, and we are getting really close to the end of our development. We're effectively finished, and now we are kind of finalizing the audits as well. So we took a different approach, actually bringing in the auditors while we were developing. So we've had lots of input from them, and lots of parts of the audit has been happening already. So now that we're coming towards the end of our development, this is where we get into the final stage where we do a code freeze, and they go back and they audit the entire system from the ground up, the whole protocol. And then once that's done, after final feedback and various quality assurance kind of testing that we have to do, that's when we'll be ready to go live and launch both the stablecoin and the DEX. So we've actually been developing both simultaneously. So when we actually do launch, it's not just going to be the launch of a protocol, it's going to be the launch of two large protocols, effectively a whole ecosystem that we're putting out at the same time. So yeah, in terms of kind of timelines on that, we're kind of keeping the community updated. And as we go through this quarter, we'll be providing more updates to the point where we can give an exact time and date when we do go live. But the token itself would be going live before the protocols. So the token will be trading before the protocols go live, and that will be kind of in the coming weeks. Effectively, this quarter, we're very, very close to having Dana trading. So we're looking forward to that.
Okay, I'll keep a little bit of extra USD on the side then. In terms of developers, how on earth did you get developers to work on your project so early, especially when Plutus Smart Contracts, the whole Plutus Pioneer program, didn't come out to, let's say, I think it was March or May. I can't remember the exact date. So how did you get developers to come in on the project to write the Haskell code needed, the Plutus Smart Contracts that were needed from a very early stage, so that you've had like a really long development time compared to some other projects?
Yeah. So we started building earlier, as they're two large protocols, protocols in their own right. It's almost as if we're building two projects at the same time. So in terms of attracting the developers, I was lucky enough to have people in my network who had strong Haskell experience, and others who'd worked on various other projects. So they had both the strong Haskell experience, but actual kind of native blockchain experience working on different protocols. So it was really bringing together that initial group of developers and team members. And then as we progressed through the year, increasing the size of that team and bringing on support from various different Haskell communities and Haskell groups effectively. So we've had a lot of support, and it is a fairly large team, but we've been working hard, and so yeah.
How large is the team at the moment?
I think at the moment it's 25. Yeah, there's around 25 of us. Although I guess if you include the our kind of community moderators, kind of helping manage the community and educate people, it probably goes closer to the 35 range. But kind of core team and developers. It's around 25.
Yeah, that's a decent sized team. Okay, so in terms of the launch, it's coming close. We'll see the centralized exchange or wherever data might be trading coming out in the next few weeks, and then the DEX and the protocol itself come out, I'm assuming, as soon or close to as possible when the PAB comes out. That's a Plutus application backend. Will we see anything on testnet? Will users get to see a little preview beforehand, or are you going to tease us all the way to the end and launch on mainnet?
Yeah, so we are for now planning on launching on mainnet. However, before, we will be putting out kind of teasers and platform showcases. So before we launch, people will have a good view of what the platform looks like. There'll be tutorials so that as soon as we launch, people are already well acquainted on both what the UX, how that functions, and how to interact with the protocol. How to connect your wallet. So there'll be a lot of snippets and content coming out in the coming weeks until we eventually launch directly on mainnet.
Okay, all right. Teasing all the way at the end. Thanks, Ryan. All right. Now, in terms of other business development side of things, so we talked about the development side of things and now the business development, you've had quite a few partnerships been announced over the last few months, everything from Liquid Finance to Meld, Eldron, like we mentioned before, and even Coty. What do some of these partnerships actually mean? I know a lot of projects announce partnerships and they're merely just marketing partnerships, but these ones are solid partnerships where you're doing something really important. Can you talk about some of the highlights of these partnerships?
Yeah. We think partnerships is important. It kind of plays into the idea of composability in the space, where you have various different protocols building within their niche and their kind of focus, and they act as Lego blocks that can be put together to kind of make new protocols on top, but provide new use cases to different users. So that's really our direction in terms of how we establish these partnerships. And every single partnership has a focus on how we can actually integrate our technology into their protocol and how we can integrate their technology into our protocol. So whether it's the likes of Liquid, where our stablecoin DUSD will be offered on their market, their lending and borrowing protocol, or whether it's the likes of Coty, where that will play a role in our move into the traditional finance space, into RealFi, where you'll actually be able to pay with DUSD through AdaPay. So DUSD will be offered on AdaPay. You'll be able to, whether it's online or in a store, anywhere that supports AdaPay, you can pay with DUSD directly. And that's exciting, providing the real use case for our stablecoin. And then we move to the likes of Elrond, which is another huge ecosystem building, has been building for a while. We'll be working closely with Elrond to build a bridge, Cardano to Elrond bridge, where you'll be able to move assets back and forth, build protocols on both chains and allow them to interact. And we'll actually be bringing in their native token itself across into the ecosystem and kind of leveraging that within our protocol. And whether it's kind of working with Indigo as well, the synthetics protocol on Cardano, which we're really excited about as well, having our DUSD interact with their protocol. All of these partnerships play important roles in providing use cases for what we're building, and providing new use cases to the community. When you have two protocols, one which provides one piece and another which provides the other, and that enables us to kind of leverage the expertise. So that's really what excites us about the partnerships, is where interesting use cases which we may not even think about will actually begin to spring forth once we make it very easy for other projects to integrate with our protocol.
It's going to be really interesting because there's so many of these projects that are around, and the partnerships and blending them together so you can, like you said, build these Lego blocks of DeFi and build your own solution. you really have to know what's going on and all these different protocols out there, so you can build up the perfect solution for your situation. So it will take a lot of knowledge to actually understand and know what's out there. But hopefully Adana can build these partnerships and make it as easy as possible with your academy. Now, there's been a lot of conversation around certain aspects of Cardano, which people have been flagging and calling and using as FUD for the ecosystem. Everything from the congestion to the engineering challenges of the concurrency that the ETUXO model has. What is Adana's solution to this? How are you handling the UTXO model, and how are you implementing your smart contracts to scale up?
Yeah, so in terms of the EUTXO model and dealing with concurrency, we're using we call it our parallelism strategy or kind of method in terms of how it works is that you'd have multiple instances of the same smart contract. So as opposed to there just being one smart contract and one protocol, you'd have many different ones running in parallel, allowing multiple users to interact with the protocol at the same time, and they would run in parallel on the the on-chain, and then off-chain, we'd have an aggregator of sorts, which would help route orders through those different protocols and aggregate them. And that would form a system where we're now able to increase the scalability of the protocol itself, and actually have kind of granular control of how we increase that scalability. So there's no real limit to how much we can increase, and whether it's one smart contract instance or 10 or 50 or 10,000 to 100,000. It works, kind of exactly the same. It is scalable, and there wouldn't be any issues in terms of performance as we scale up the protocol in how we've dealt and how we've built that solution. So that's how we'll be dealing with it for our protocol. And in terms of concurrency on Cardano and the EUTXO model, something that does have to be mentioned is that Ethereum came first, and it had its account-based model, and many other blockchains followed after that and replicated that. So in terms of development within the blockchain space, a lot of it was coming off the back of Ethereum. So now, the likes of Cardano and Nervous and other UTXO type chains have come out with their own kind of UTXO model as opposed to the account-based model. What this requires is a different way to develop, a different way to construct your smart contract. So we don't necessarily like to look at it as an issue or a problem. It is just a new model that requires new solutions, and we're happy to be a part in building our solution, which helps to effectively solve the concurrency issue for any protocol and for our protocol. And there are many other projects out there which have their own solutions as well. So there's a lot of innovation in terms of solving those issues. And it's reassuring to us that many of those solutions do converge kind of roughly in the same area of multiple smart contract instances, although there are slight nuances in how other protocols have dealt with that. But we are excited to see that finally now there's more information, there's more education around UTXO and concurrency, and that this is a different model which has advantages over the standard account-based model, the likes of other chains. So we'll actually look forward to seeing how people leverage that and come up with kind of more ways to leverage scalability in a different way on Cardano.
Do you see a lot of these innovations and solutions that are being built for the Cardano ETXO model being implemented also on other EUTXO blockchains such as Nervous?
Yeah. I think it depends on how. There's always going to be nuances whether you compare Cardano to the other ones. However, with a UTXO model, there would just, there'd be similarities between those chains in terms of how you develop, how you process transactions, how you query the chain itself. So yeah, there will be similarities, and we are seeing a lot of crossover in other UTXO type chains in terms of solutions to deal with concurrency and other solutions in terms of kind of how scalability works on there as opposed to the account-based model. So I'd say, the innovations happening on Cardano can and are already definitely benefiting other chains, and it is the same vice versa in terms of the development we're seeing on their chains is also benefiting us. We're seeing other interesting ways in which they're working, with building their DeFi protocols. So yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned Nervos in particular because I know there's a bridge that's being built between Cardano and Nervos, and their ecosystem is thriving at the moment with really well-built marketplaces for NFTs, for example. So their smart contract environment for that is absolutely blossoming at the moment with what they're developing there. So it's a very interesting ecosystem to watch, and more synergies there will be absolutely amazing to see some more cross-chain synergies and activity between the two blockchains. Okay.
Yeah.
So the last thing that I want to talk about is this Adana Stake Pool Alliance. How many of these stake pools are there exactly? Are there still slots available to be a part of this alliance? How do we find out more about it if you're a stake pool operator?
Yeah, so although applications are closed now, in the future, we'll be looking to possibilities of expanding Asper further than it currently is. So in terms of kind of information, we've been putting out different articles, kind of providing education around stake pools, but then also around specific stake pools within Asper, the team working at that stake pool, the operators, but also the mission that they're focused on, and kind of the direction in terms of, from a community level of those stake pools. So that's very exciting there. So we're putting together a separate page of our website where you will have access to the different kind of websites and media accounts and information on all the stake pools within Asper. And those will have links to the articles that we've done as well. So we will have a database of sorts of the Asper, the Ardana Stake Pool Alliance. So that's going to be exciting once that goes live as well. And then in terms of Asper as a group and how we'd like them to interact with the protocol. How we see the benefit of kind of staking with an Asper pool. There's various initiatives that we have planned in the future surrounding kind of liquidity mining, where we distribute the tokens for users of our protocol for interacting, whether they provide liquidity or they stake their tokens. So there will be benefits actually tied into staking with an Asper stake pool. So that's going to be exciting when we see kind of more attention being brought to these pools and their missions as well. And then also long-term, how we can educate more people outside of Cardano of what a stake pool is. It's very different. The concept of staking on other chains is there's a smart contract and you stake with it and that's it. Whereas on Cardano, it's actually a team, almost a project of sorts, operators managing a stake pool and reaching out to delegators and potential delegators and kind of attracting kind of into their stake pool. So that's something very interesting about Cardano, specifically that side of the community, in our opinion, the most important community. And we'd like to kind of bring more attention to our Asper pools. And that will be done through kind of putting out information about kind of stake pools, how they work, and also providing more information about how users can support stake pools through actually staking and kind of delegating as well. So yeah, we look forward to that as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting ecosystem as the market changes and demand changes as well. So one last thing, how do we find out more about Adana? What social media accounts should we be following? And where is this Adana Academy?
Yeah. So firstly, on the Academy, we're putting that together. It will be released soon. And we've taken a change in direction in how we do the Academy. We had an initial plan to do it in kind of bite-sized chunks of information, but now we've actually expanded on that in terms of kind of the level of detail we have in the content to really make it a full course going from the foundations of what is cryptocurrency, what is a blockchain, and what is Bitcoin, and then moving on to smart contracts, and then learning about Cardano as an ecosystem, and then eventually reaching Ardana itself. So we've expanded kind of the level of depth that we're going to have in the Adana Academy, and that will be launching this quarter very soon in the coming weeks. So we look forward to putting that out as well. And in terms of finding us, we have our main webpage, ardana.org. And in terms of kind of social media, we have our Twitter page, which is at Ardana Project. And then we have our communities. We have both the Telegram community, which is at Ardana Official. And then we have our Discord as well. And you can find the links to that kind of through our other pages as well. So please do kind of feel free to join the community. And every Monday, we like to do community calls within our Telegram, where it's myself and our other team members answering your questions, speaking to the community, and really getting a sense of what people feel about Ardana and Cardano and what role we can play in that. So that's something there as well.
Absolutely brilliant. I'll make sure all the links to all of that is in the show notes down below and on the website as well. Ryan, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and learning more about Adana and drilling into some of these little aspects of the project as well.
Thanks a lot. It was great to be here, and look forward to coming back in the future with more updates and hopefully when our protocol launches as well.
Oh, I'll definitely drag you back in. Don't worry about that. Really hope you enjoyed the episode. We've got so much more coming up. I'm literally doing almost 4 interviews a week at the moment, and it's really hard to keep up. If you really like this content, please give us that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. There's a lot more to come. This Cardano ecosystem is just about to explode. I'm really excited about this. All right.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debate.